Captain James Walker stood at the main viewport of Earth Defense Station Alpha, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared him for what he was witnessing. The stars were disappearing, one section of the sky at a time. "Sir, energy readings are off the charts," Lieutenant Rogers called from his monitoring station. "Whatever they're building up there, it's like nothing we've ever seen." Walker pressed his palm against the cold glass. Beyond the station's protective shell, massive alien ships positioned themselves in a perfect grid pattern around Earth's solar system. Their hulls glowed with an eerie purple light that seemed to bend the very fabric of space. "Get me a direct line to the Galactic Council," Walker ordered, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his gut. "They can't do this without at least talking to us first." Rogers worked at his console, but only static filled the communication channels. After 3 attempts, he looked up with defeat in his eyes. "They're blocking all transmissions, sir. We're being cut off." The first reports from Mars Colony came in moments later. The settlement's governor appeared on the main screen, her face pale with panic. "Earth Command, we're detecting some kind of energy barrier forming between us and the supply ships. 2 vessels just crashed into it. 400 people. They're just gone." Walker felt his blood run cold. He grabbed the station's microphone, broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. "This is Earth Defense Station Alpha to all off-world vessels. Return to your nearest colony immediately. I repeat, return to the nearest colony. Do not attempt to cross between planetary bodies." But it was too late for many ships. The barrier was forming faster than anyone could react. Supply vessels, passenger shuttles, and mining ships all met the same fate: complete destruction upon impact with the invisible wall. In the council chamber, far beyond the solar system, the alien representatives watched their handiwork through massive holographic displays. The council speaker, a tall figure whose species had ruled galactic politics for millennia, addressed the assembly. "The quarantine of Sol system is proceeding as planned," the speaker announced. "The humans have proven themselves too unpredictable, too aggressive in their expansion. Their evolutionary path has produced a species that thinks nothing of war, that adapts too quickly to new technologies. They must be contained." None of the 200 council members objected. They had all seen the reports. Humans advancing through technological stages at an alarming rate, developing weapons alongside medical breakthroughs, turning every discovery into a tool that could be used for both help and harm. Back on Earth, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Walker watched as the last gap in the barrier sealed itself. The purple glow from the alien ships intensified, then faded as they completed their work. One by one, the massive vessels turned and jumped away, leaving behind their invisible prison walls. "Sir," Rogers called out, his voice shaking. "Initial reports are coming in. We have 37 colonies across Mars, Europa, and the asteroid belt, all of them dependent on Earth for supplies. Current estimates suggest they have food and water for maybe 3 months." Walker's fingers dug into the railing he was gripping. "And the barrier? It extends in a perfect sphere around the entire solar system. Nothing we have can even scratch it. Our most powerful weapons just bounce off." The next few days brought the full horror of their situation into focus. Millions of people trapped between worlds. Colonies facing slow starvation. Earth's carefully built interplanetary civilization cut off at the knees. In an emergency meeting of Earth's unified government, Walker presented the situation. "The Galactic Council has sentenced us to isolation, possibly extinction, without trial or warning. They see us as animals to be caged, but they've made 3 critical mistakes." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each world leader. "First, they assumed we couldn't understand their technology. Second, they thought we would accept this fate quietly. And third," a grim smile crossed his face, "they left us alive to plot our revenge." The room erupted in determined discussions, As humanity faced its greatest crisis, the seeds of its greatest triumph were already being planted. The Galactic Council had wanted to cage humanity. Instead, they had given it a reason to show just how dangerous humans could be when backed into a corner. In the darkness of space, the barrier shimmered with its purple energy, marking the boundary of humanity's prison. But prisons, as Earth's history had shown time and time again, were never enough to hold those with the will to break free. 15 years had changed everything, and nothing. The purple barrier still shimmered in Earth's night sky, a constant reminder of humanity's prison. But beneath the surface of defeat, something else was growing. Dr. Emily Reed walked through the underground lab complex, buried 2 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her footsteps echoed through the metal corridors as she made her way to the main testing chamber. The room, once a natural cave, now housed Earth's largest collection of barrier study equipment. "Show me the latest readings," she ordered as she entered. The team of scientists looked up from their workstations, their faces glowing in the light of dozens of screens. "You need to see this," said Dr. Wilson, his eyes bright with excitement. He pointed to a simulation running on the main display. "We've been looking at the barrier wrong all these years. It's not just an energy field, it's a massive computer program." Emily leaned forward, studying the complex patterns flowing across the screen. After 15 years of watching the barrier, of studying every tiny fluctuation, they had finally found its weakness. "They think we're too primitive to understand their technology," she said, a smile forming on her face. "That's why they never bothered to hide how it works. They never thought we'd be able to read their code." High above Earth, in the Galactic Council's monitoring station, 2 alien observers watched their regular feeds from the solar system. Another failed human attempt to mine asteroids, one reported, his multiple eyes blinking in sequence. "Their ships still can't reach the outer colonies." "Primitive species," the other agreed. 15 years, and they still crash against the barrier like insects against a window. The observers laughed, their mandibles clicking. On their screens, Earth appeared to be struggling. Industries had shifted to focus on survival. Space traffic had dropped to almost nothing. To outside eyes, humanity appeared to have accepted its fate. They never bothered to look deeper. In another secret facility, this one beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Thomas watched as the newest ship took shape. The massive construction bay had been built in total secrecy, using technology reverse engineered from studying the barrier. "How many does this make?" he asked the facility director. "This is the 50th vessel in the Ghost Fleet, sir," the director replied. "All built with our new shield technology. The Council won't be able to detect them, even if they look right at them." Thomas nodded, satisfaction evident in his expression. The ships looked nothing like traditional human vessels. Their hulls rippled with a technology that the Council thought impossible for humans to develop. Each one represented thousands of hours of secret work, millions of calculations, and countless sacrifices. And the weapons systems. Better than we hoped. Dr. Reed's team cracked their basic computing language. These ships don't just copy their technology, they improve on it. Back in the mountain laboratory, Emily made her way to a special chamber. Inside, behind layers of security, sat a small cube of purple energy, a tiny piece of the barrier, captured and contained during its creation 15 years ago. "Start the test," she commanded. Wilson initiated the sequence. The cube pulsed as their equipment engaged with it. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like ice cracking, lines of weakness appeared in the energy field. "It works," Emily whispered. "Their perfect cage has a flaw." Across Earth's solar system, humanity had learned to survive within its prison. Mars colonies now grew their own food in massive underground farms. Europa's settlements had developed new water recycling systems. To the Council's watching eyes, these were just the desperate acts of a trapped species. They didn't realize they were watching humanity do what it did best: adapt, learn, and prepare. In his office aboard Defense Station Alpha, now Captain Walker, soon to be Admiral Walker, reviewed the latest reports. The Ghost Fleet was ready. Dr. Reed had cracked the barrier's code. Earth's colonies were self-sufficient enough to survive what was coming. He opened a secure channel to Admiral Thomas. "How long until we can launch Operation Breakthrough?" Thomas's voice came back clear and confident. 1 month. We're just waiting for the right moment. Their centennial celebration. When they're all gathered together, congratulating themselves on keeping us safely locked away. Walker smiled. 15 years of playing weak. 15 years of letting them think they'd won. 15 years of turning their own technology against them. The Council thought they had imprisoned humanity. Instead, they had given it time to become something far more dangerous than they could imagine. The time for revenge was almost here. Admiral Thomas stood in the war room deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, surrounded by holographic displays showing Earth's secret fleet. Around him, military commanders from every major nation studied the final battle plans. Operation Breakthrough begins in 72 hours. He announced, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "Show me our status." The main display lit up with green indicators. 50 ghost ships hidden in plain sight. 20,000 trained crew members, weapons that could predict and counter alien technology. Everything humanity had built in secret over 15 years. "Sir," a young officer called out, "Dr. Reed's team is ready for their report." The main screen switched to the Mountain Laboratory. Dr. Reed stood before the camera, dark circles under her eyes showing the strain of endless work. "The final tests are complete," she said, her voice tired but proud. "We can break through their barrier at any point we choose. But more importantly, we can turn their own technology against them." She held up what looked like a small purple crystal. "This contains the complete code of their barrier system. Once we're out, we can use it to trap their ships just like they trapped us." In the Galactic Council chamber, far across the galaxy, preparations for their centennial celebration were underway. Massive ships from 100 alien races gathered around their central station. The council speaker addressed the assembled representatives. "In 3 days, we celebrate our greatest achievement, 1,000 years of maintaining peace through strength. The containment of Earth stands as proof of our wisdom." The aliens cheered, their various appendages waving in celebration. None of them noticed the small changes in their sensor readings. None of them questioned why their barrier monitoring systems occasionally flickered. Back on Mars, in the largest underground colony, Captain Walker supervised the final evacuation drill. 5,000 colonists moved quickly through reinforced tunnels, boarding ships that looked like simple transport vessels but contained technology far beyond what the Council thought possible. "Time," he asked his executive officer. 17 minutes to full evacuation," she reported. "Well within safety margins." Walker nodded. When the barrier came down, they would need to move fast. The Council would respond with everything they had, or at least they would try to. In her laboratory, Dr. Reed made final adjustments to the barrier-breaking device. Her team had named it the Lockpick, a simple name for a machine that could shatter the Council's greatest achievement. "Final simulation complete," Wilson reported. "Success rate holds at 100%. They really never thought we'd understand their math, did they?" Reed smiled grimly. "Their biggest mistake was thinking they were smarter than us. Their technology is impressive, but they stopped improving it centuries ago. They grew comfortable, lazy." Across the solar system, hidden preparations reached their final stages. The Ghost Fleet moved into position, invisible to the Council's sensors. Emergency supplies were distributed. Communication systems were tested and retested. Admiral Thomas received the last confirmation signal from his fleet commanders. Every ship was ready. Every weapon was primed. Every crew member knew their role. He opened a channel to all secret facilities. "This is Admiral Thomas. In 3 days, we show the galaxy what happens when you cage humanity. We've spent 15 years learning their weaknesses, copying their strengths, and preparing our response." He paused, looking at the displays showing their hidden forces. They expect us to be primitive, defeated, and broken. They expect us to be grateful for being allowed to live in our cage. They expect us to know our place. A fierce smile crossed his face. Let's show them how wrong they are. In the council chamber, the speaker continued addressing the gathered aliens. The humans remained safely contained, a lesson to any who would threaten galactic peace. Our barrier has proved perfect, unbreakable, a testament to our superior. A junior aide interrupted, whispering something in the speaker's ear. The speaker's expression changed to one of confusion. What do you mean? The sensor readings are changing. What do you mean? There's something wrong with the barrier's code. But it was too late for them to investigate. In 72 hours, their celebration would turn into something very different. In Earth's war room, Admiral Thomas gave the final order. All forces begin countdown to Operation Breakthrough. Revenge, as they say, is a dish best served cold. And we've had 15 years to prepare this meal. The countdown began. Humanity's moment of revenge was about to begin. The Galactic Council's celebration was at its peak. Thousands of alien ships surrounded the central station, their lights creating a dazzling display. Inside the Grand Chamber, representatives from 200 worlds watched a simulation of Earth's containment barrier, proudly displayed as their greatest achievement. They never saw it coming. At exactly midnight Earth time, Dr. Reed stood before the lockpick device, her hand hovering over the activation switch. All stations report ready, she announced over the secure channel. Admiral Thomas's voice came back clear and strong. Begin Operation Breakthrough. Reed pressed the switch. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like cracks spreading through ice, lines of light appeared in the purple barrier surrounding Earth's solar system. The cracks grew larger, spreading faster and faster. In the council chamber, alarms suddenly blared. The speaker rushed to the main display, all four eyes widening in shock. Impossible, the speaker shouted. The barrier is failing. But how? The barrier didn't just fail. It shattered. Fragments of purple energy scattered across space like broken glass. Where the barrier had stood for 15 years, now there was nothing but open space. And emerging from that space came humanity's ghost fleet. All ships, execute attack pattern Alpha. Admiral Thomas commanded from his flagship. The 50 vessels of Earth's secret fleet appeared simultaneously at different points around the solar system, their advanced hulls finally dropping their camouflage. The Council's celebration turned to chaos. Alien ships scrambled to battle stations, but they were too late and too confused. Years of peace had made them soft, while humanity had spent 15 years preparing for this exact moment. They're using our own technology. An alien commander screamed over the general channel. But improved. How did they? His transmission cut off as the ghost fleet opened fire. The weapons were precise, targeting engines and weapon systems, but avoiding life support. Humanity wanted revenge, not massacre. Captain Walker, now commanding one of the ghost ships, watched as his vessel's AI predicted and countered every alien attack pattern. They never changed their tactics, he said to his crew. 15 years using the same maneuvers, all recorded by our barrier sensors. And now, his ship effortlessly dodged enemy fire, while his own weapons disabled 3 council vessels in quick succession. Around the solar system, the scene repeated itself 50 times over. In her laboratory, Dr. Reed monitored the battle through data feeds. Send the signal, she ordered. Wilson activated their second surprise, a virus hidden in the barrier's code, now spreading through the Council's networks. On every Council ship, control systems suddenly displayed a simple message in their own languages. The cage is open. The prisoners are free. And they're not happy. The speaker watched in horror as humanity's ships demonstrated capabilities that should have been impossible. They moved like no human ships had moved before. They shrugged off attacks that should have destroyed them. They struck with terrible precision. Order all ships to retreat, the speaker commanded. But the order came too late. Admiral Thomas's voice boomed across all frequencies, translated automatically into every alien language. For 15 years, you kept us caged. You watched us suffer. You thought we were trapped, helpless, defeated. You were wrong. The Ghost Fleet formed a perfect circle around the Council's central station. Their weapons weren't just pointed at the station. They were pointed at the fundamental weaknesses in its design, weaknesses that humanity had spent years studying. Your barrier became our teacher, Thomas continued. Your technology became our blueprint. Your arrogance became your weakness. And now, he paused, letting the silence grow heavy. Now you understand exactly what happens when you try to cage humanity. The Council's mighty defense fleet hung motionless in space, disabled but not destroyed. The celebration lights still flickered, casting strange shadows on the scene of humanity's victory. In the Council chamber, the speaker slumped in defeat. On the main display, a new message appeared. Humanity requests an audience with the Galactic Council. Attendance is not optional. The revenge of Earth was just beginning, and it would change the galaxy forever. The Council chamber was silent. Where once 200 alien representatives had celebrated their power, now they sat in stunned fear. Human soldiers, wearing advanced armor that seemed to shift colors like flowing water, stood at every exit. Admiral Thomas walked to the center of the chamber, his footsteps echoing. Behind him, massive screens displayed real-time images of Earth's Ghost Fleet holding the Council's ships helpless in space. For 15 years, he began, his voice carried by translators to every alien ear. You watched us through your barrier. Now, we want you to watch something else. Dr. Reed's face appeared on the main screen. Beginning data transfer now, she said. Then the screens filled with thousands of documents, videos, and records, the Council's secret archives. While you thought we were trapped studying your barrier, Thomas continued, we were actually breaking into your networks, learning your secrets, finding out what kind of people really run this council. The aliens began to shift uncomfortably as their private messages, secret deals, and hidden crimes appeared for all to see. The speaker tried to stand, but Captain Walker's firm hand kept him in his seat. You didn't just imprison Earth, Thomas said. You've been controlling and manipulating every race in the galaxy, keeping some worlds poor while others grew rich, starting wars to weaken rising powers, destroying any civilization that might challenge your authority. On dozens of council worlds, the same data was being broadcast. Earth's hidden satellites, launched years ago by disguised cargo ships, made sure no one could stop the transmission. A representative from a smaller world stood up. The council told us Earth was quarantined because humans were dangerous, she shouted. But these records, they show you were afraid because Earth offered free trade to developing worlds. More representatives began to stand, their voices rising in anger as they learned the truth. The speaker's security forces tried to respond, but their weapons had been disabled by the same virus that had helped break the barrier. Humanity offers a choice, Thomas announced, raising his hand for quiet. The old council will be disbanded. Their leaders will face trial for their crimes. In its place, we propose the Interstellar Cooperative. Dr. Reed's image returned to the screen. Every world will receive full access to Earth's technological advancements, she added. No more artificial barriers to progress. No more keeping worlds dependent on council charity. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives immediately stood to support Earth's proposal. Others, mostly from wealthy worlds that had benefited from the council's corruption, protested loudly. Captain Walker stepped forward, holding up a small device. This contains proof of every crime committed by the current council leadership, every secret deal, every manipulated war, every suppressed invention. We're transmitting copies to every world in the galaxy. The speaker finally found his voice. You'll destroy everything. Without the council's guidance, there will be chaos. Thomas smiled. No, without your corruption, there will be progress. He turned to address the entire chamber. Humanity could take revenge through force. Our fleet proves we have that power. Instead, we choose justice. On worlds across the galaxy, populations watched in amazement as centuries of Council lies were exposed. Ships from smaller worlds began breaking away from the Council fleet, pledging support to Earth's new alliance. You had 15 years to change, Thomas continued. 15 years to realize your mistake. Instead, you celebrated our imprisonment. Now, those years have become your downfall. Dr. Reed's team continued broadcasting data, showing how Earth's advances could help other worlds. Clean energy, advanced medicine, fair trade practices, everything the Council had suppressed. The revolution wasn't happening through violence, it was happening through truth. In less than 1 hour, 40 worlds had already pledged to join the new cooperative. By the end of the day, that number would triple. The speaker watched helplessly as his empire of lies crumbled. "How?" he whispered. "How did you do all this?" Walker leaned down to answer. "You put humanity in a cage, then watched us like animals in a zoo. But you forgot something important. While you were watching us, we were watching you. And we learned. We adapted. We prepared." The message was clear. Humanity's revenge wasn't just about breaking free. It was about breaking the chains around every world in the galaxy. And they were only getting started. The Council's last loyal forces gathered near their homeworld. 150 warships, commanded by Admiral Thor of the Council Guard, prepared for a final desperate attack. "Earth has turned the galaxy against us," Thor announced to his fleet. "We will show them why the Council has ruled for 1,000 years. But Earth was ready. They had expected this. Admiral Thomas stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the enemy fleet on his display. Dr. Reed's voice came through his command link. "Their ships are using emergency override codes to bypass our virus. But that's exactly what we wanted them to do." Thomas smiled. Every move the Council made had been predicted, planned for, and turned into a trap. "All ships, execute Operation Checkmate," he ordered. The Ghost Fleet appeared around the Council forces in a perfect sphere formation. But this time, they weren't alone. Ships from 30 former Council worlds joined them, their crews eager to help defeat their former oppressors. "This is your only warning," Thomas broadcast to the Council fleet. "Power down your weapons and surrender." Admiral Exor responded by opening fire. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked across space and passed right through the Ghost Fleet's physicians. "Holograms," Captain Walker explained to his crew as they watched from their real position, cloaked and waiting. "Let them waste their ammunition." The Council fleet celebrated what they thought was a successful first strike. Then the real attack began. Earth's ships appeared behind them, inside their formation. The technology that had kept humanity hidden for 15 years now served as the perfect weapon. The Council fleet didn't know which targets were real and which were fake. "Target their command ships first," Thomas ordered. "Disable, don't destroy." The Ghost Fleet's weapons fired with surgical precision. Council ships lost power, their engines died, and their weapons went dark. Some tried to run, but found their hyperdrives wouldn't respond. "How is this possible?" Kexor shouted as his flagship systems failed one by one. "We have the most advanced technology in the galaxy." Dr. Reed's voice answered him on all channels. You had the most advanced technology. Until you gave us 15 years to study it, improve it, and turn it against you. The battle was over in less than an hour. Not a single Council ship was destroyed, but none remained operational. Earth's victory was total and undeniable. On planets across the galaxy, people watched through the broadcast network humanity had created. They saw the mighty Council fleet defeated not through brutal force, but through superior strategy and technology. Thomas opened a channel to all ships, Council, and Allied alike. "Let this be the last battle between our peoples. The age of Council dominance is over. The age of cooperation begins." Captain Walker led the boarding party onto Admiral Xor's flagship. The Council Admiral stood proud despite his defeat, his scaled skin reflecting the emergency lights. "You could have destroyed us," Thor said as Walker approached. "Why didn't you?" "Because that's what you would have done," Walker replied. "And we're nothing like you." Back on Earth, crowds gathered in cities across the planet. The barrier that had imprisoned them for 15 years was gone. The council that had tried to cage them was defeated. But humanity had done more than just break free. They had changed the galaxy forever. In the council's former chamber, now renamed the Cooperative Assembly, Dr. Reed presented the evidence of the council's final plot. They were planning to use planet-killer weapons on any world that rejected their rule, she explained to the gathered representatives. Instead, those weapons are now being dismantled. The Speaker and other council leaders were led away to face trial for their crimes. Their power, built on lies and fear, had crumbled in the face of humanity's calculated revenge. Admiral Thomas watched from the chamber's viewing deck as ships from dozens of worlds moved freely through space. "They thought they were punishing us," he said to Walker. "Instead, they forced us to become stronger than they could imagine." The galaxy was entering a new age, and humanity, the species that had been caged like animals, now stood as the guardians of freedom for all worlds. The revenge was complete, but the story was just beginning. 1 year after the Council's fall, the galaxy was a very different place. Where the Council's massive station once floated, a new structure had taken its place. The Cooperative Assembly, built with a mixture of Earth and alien technology. Admiral Thomas, now serving as Earth's first representative to the Assembly, stood at the main window of his office. Ships from 100 different worlds moved freely through space, their designs showing a blend of cultures and technologies that would have been forbidden under the old council. Dr. Reed entered the office, carrying a data tablet. "The last of the barrier generators has been dismantled," she reported. "No species will ever be caged like that again." Thomas nodded, remembering the purple wall that had imprisoned Earth for 15 years. "And the technology sharing program. Better than we hoped," Reed smiled. 50 worlds have already improved their medical technology. 30 more have clean energy systems. The Council kept them dependent, but we're teaching them to stand on their own. The door opened again, and Captain Walker, now Admiral Walker, joined them. His uniform now bore the symbol of the new Joint Defense Force, a combination of Earth's flag and stars representing allied worlds. "The last Council loyalists surrendered this morning," Walker announced. "They saw the trial broadcasts. Hard to keep fighting when the whole galaxy knows your leaders were criminals." The trial had been public, broadcast to every world. The Council's former speaker and commanders had faced justice not just for Earth's imprisonment, but for centuries of manipulation and crimes against other species. On the streets below the Assembly, humans and aliens walked together. Markets sold goods from across the galaxy. Schools taught students from different worlds. This was humanity's true revenge, not destroying the old order, but building a better one. "Remember how they used to watch us through the barrier?" Thomas asked, turning from the window. "Treating us like animals in a zoo." Reed nodded. "Now they're watching us leave the galaxy into a new age." Quite a change in just 1 year. The main display in Thomas's office lit up, showing a live feed from Earth. The planet had changed too. Cities now featured alien architecture alongside human buildings. Ships of all designs filled the skies. Earth had become a symbol of hope for younger civilizations. "The reparations program is working well," Walker added, checking his own datapad. "Former Council worlds are paying back what they stole, not through punishment, but through trade and technology sharing." Thomas walked to his desk and picked up a small crystal, a piece of the barrier that had once imprisoned Earth. "Keep this on display," he said, "to remind everyone what happens when you try to cage humanity." A chime sounded, announcing the start of today's assembly session. Representatives from 200 worlds took their seats in the Grand Chamber, but unlike the old council days, every world had an equal voice. Thomas, Reed, and Walker took their places as Earth's delegation. The chamber's main display showed the day's achievements. Another world joining the cooperative. New trade routes established. Medical breakthroughs being shared. defense forces working together, cultural exchange programs growing. 1 year ago, Thomas began his address. We broke free from a cage built by fear and lies, but we didn't seek revenge through destruction. We chose a harder path, the path of building something better. The assembled representatives nodded in agreement. Many of them had opposed Earth at first, afraid of another powerful world seeking control. But humanity had proven different from the Council. We remember our 15 years of imprisonment, Thomas continued, not with anger, but with determination. Determination that no species will ever face such treatment again. Determination that the galaxy will be a place of cooperation, not control. As if to emphasize his words, a ship could be seen through the chamber's windows, one of Earth's ghost fleet vessels, now serving alongside alien ships as peacekeepers. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't its ability to fight or build powerful weapons. It was the ability to turn oppression into opportunity, to transform revenge into redemption. The Council had tried to cage humanity. Instead, they had released something remarkable into the galaxy: hope. And that was the greatest revenge of all.